The SEC clearly lost as a matter of law, and the judge wrote, XRP is not a security, as a kind of intrinsic thing. This is the first time the SEC has lost a crypto case. It's because, I think the SEC's been a bully, and they've gone after weak players who couldn't mount a proper defense. Ripple had the fortitude, the courage to kind of go, and frankly, me individually and Chris Larson individually, to fight this fight. And I think many, many people in the industry are responding positively because the industry needed someone to fight, because the SEC was really just using regulation through enforcement as their primary tool. And that's not a good way to build a market.
Perhaps you could elaborate on the judge's ruling that exchange-traded tokens do not constitute securities when used for compensation or incentives related to XRP as a whole. If so, I'd appreciate hearing more about the part of the case in which you lost. Institutional sales are, in the big picture, not insignificant, but they are a relatively minor factor. In a moment, Brad will elaborate. Major cryptocurrency exchanges have shown their support for XRP by increasing trading volume by a factor of 1351. Many smaller exchanges have also shown interest in listing XRP or for trade. Many U.S. exchanges took a wait-and-see approach after the SEC, and my judgment sowed confusion in the market. And during the discovery process of this lawsuit, it became clear that the SEC, in my judgment, were well aware of the confusion already present in the market and had taken actions that they knew would further muddy the waters. Although no other country on earth shared the United States' view that XRP was a security, the ruling provides welcome clarity for the domestic market. Don't be misled that Judge Torres ruled that sometimes XRP is a security, writes Paul Grewal of Coinbase, because I think there are a lot of people out there who are confused by Judge Torres's decision. XRP as a digital token is not in and of itself a contract transaction or scheme that embodies the Hawaii requirements of an investment contract, which is pretty interesting. So the clips I've been showing you of Brad are from an interview with Bloomberg, and he also did his first interview with MSNBC, presumably to stick it to Gary because that's his network of choice. And we also saw this from Ellie Tourette of Fox Business, which is pretty divisive. Charles Gasparino, we're doing a story on how much, if any, money Ripple will be paying to settle the portion of the SEC case that it lost. And I'm curious if Eleanor Tourette was ever asked this question during her time as our Ripple beat reporter. Charlie is more than willing to meet with the SEC whenever they try to paint this as a schism. This case was never about establishing the non-security status of XRP, rather. It was about establishing the non-security status of XRP, and we won. They lost. Deaton explains that the judge reasoned that prior SEC enforcement actions had already provided fair notice related to institutional sales, but noted that prosecuting other sales such as secondary sales on exchanges may be inconsistent with prior cases, suggesting that a defendant may argue fair notice to a jury on, if other judges agree. This is bad news for the SEC, as evidenced by the SEC's acknowledgement of Fidelity's innocence following Judge Torres's ruling. Vanex Old Growth Cyprus and the Invesco Block crypto lawyer Bill Morgan is trying to understand how Judge Torres groups sales to ODL customers with institutional sales and finds all of this interesting, and if one or all of these Bitcoin ETF applications are approved, which seems increasingly likely at this point, it will allow a whole new group of people to gain exposure to Bitcoin without having to go through a crypto exchange or set up their own crypto wallet. Sales to ODL clients who don't expect gains from investing or speculating on XRP because they don't keep it long enough. I'm not sure if C's likes nibbling on her back or nestling his nose in as he does his weird, creepy whisper, but today we learned that not even babies like Biden and I don't want to start any conspiracy theories, but Kamala Harris said that when we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population, yes, Brad is correct. Certain representatives like Nebraska's Mike Floyd have taken the initiative. It's time for Congress to act where the SEC and Chair Gensler have failed, and Cynthia Loomis and Kristen Gillibrand's decision is a huge victory for the future of digital assets in the United States and American innovation We now know that senators reintroduced a landmark crypto bill in the midst of intense competitiveness and regulatory turf conflicts. After destroying Care Bear in recent congressional hearings, Patrick McHenry, the most aggressive person, is most likely Warren Davidson, and who could forget that? Unparalleled Tom Emmer. However, for every supporter of crypto, we have to deal with a jerk-off like Missouri's own Emanuel Cleaver, who has been in office since 2005. If I were to introduce a resolution to rename cryptocurrencies after, say, Juan Vargas of California, who has been getting paid since 2013, it's simpler to target individuals than large organizations. But given that major exchanges process tens of thousands of XRP trades, it's clear that they were breaking the law by acting as a securities exchange. Given that they stopped doing this, despite the money they were making, this raises the question of whether or not the practice should be made illegal. Our economy has tanked. The suicide rate has skyrocketed, and public filth, disorder, and crime have skyrocketed in every city across the United States over the past 3 years. And yet your concern is that the Ukrainians, a country most people can't find on a map, who have received tens of billions of dollars in U.S. tax dollars, but don't have enough tanks. A decision on XRP was made by the SEC that was somewhat in Ripple's favor. This verdict leaves the Ripple case open to the possibility of an appeal, the Securities and Exchange Commission, but there was still a chance that they could be overturned on appeal. After suffering a partial defeat in its protracted lawsuit against Ripple Labs regarding the company's trading of its native coin XRP, the spokesman also emphasized other aspects of the judge's order that suited the agency. The representative continued in a statement that was released to the block that we are glad that the court determined that Ripple advertised and sold XRP currencies as investment contracts in certain instances in violation of the securities rules. The court stressed that Howey and other judgments have ruled that a range of tangible and intangible assets can serve as the subject of an investment contract, and that the Howey test guides the securities investigation of Bitcoin transactions rather than Ripple's devised criteria. The court also emphasized that Howey and subsequent cases have held that a number of tangible and intangible assets can serve as the subject of an investment contract. In addition, according to the spokesman Judge Annalisa Torres of the Southern District of New York, who was the federal judge in the case, decided that ignorance of securities law was not an acceptable defense. Torres came to the conclusion that more than $700 million worth of XRP sales were conducted in violation of the law. As a result, he issued an order to conduct a trial to determine the personal liability of Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse and Executive Chairman Chris Larsen.